June 1776. The first ever version of the United States Army prepares to defend New York. The largest British naval task force ever assembled bears down on the city. 10 mighty ships of the line, 20 frigates, and 170 troop transport boats carry 32,000 fighting men. They prepare to invade and crush the American Revolution before it can get started.
It's hard to appreciate today how overwhelmingly powerful and sophisticated the British Navy and the British military were. The group that would become the Americans, the colonists, didn't have any of that. And yet they made this decision to go to war with the greatest military power on earth.
A year earlier, the Continental Congress approved funding for the first regular volunteer American Army to form the backbone of resistance.
The pay for average private at the start of the war is like $6.60 a month, which is actually pretty high pay for the time. They should be equipped, they should be provided weapons and uniforms, they should get food and a beer ration and all that. All the things that if you were a militia member, you would have to provide on your own.
George Washington is named Commander-in-Chief of the new Continental Army. He personally organizes the defenses at Kips Bay, Manhattan.
George Washington becomes the blueprint for every American officer to follow since George Washington. He's the only one to show up to the First Continental Congress wearing his uniform because he's ready.
Washington made his name fighting for the British in wars with the French. His troops are a ragtag bunch of ex-militiamen drawn from New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. They see him as one of them.
People need to be led, not directed. They need to follow an inspirational, charismatic, courageous leader.
As the British task force prepares its assault on New York, the Second Continental Congress meets. On the 4th of July, the delegates ratify the Declaration of Independence. There is no turning back.
The question was, could the Continental Army, could the American independence movement defend on the battlefield what it had asserted in the political arena?
August 27th, the British assault on New York begins. Thousands of 24-pound cannonballs rain down on the defenders. September 15th, elite redcoat troops land at Kips Bay. The poorly trained Continental soldiers are outnumbered by about 2 to 1. They are no match for the British. Washington's men retreat. Only 3,000 men are left. Supplies are low, disease is rife, morale is rock bottom.
Washington understood something from the very beginning of the Revolutionary War. He didn't have to win the Revolutionary War, he simply had to avoid losing.
The Army itself is the American Revolution. By keeping this Army together and avoiding it from being annihilated on the field of battle is really where George shines as a military thinker.
He realizes we cannot stand toe-to-toe with the British Army. We must do something different.
Washington promotes a new breed of aggressive commander, prepared to rip up the rule book. Men like Daniel Morgan.
Let's go kill us some redcoats.
What the colonists really fought was a guerrilla war, and Morgan is the architect of that war.
Morgan recruits expert marksmen, many of them hunters from his home patch in Virginia.
Looks a lot like hunting with which they are familiar with, albeit now it's British soldiers.
We'll go about doing things that the British Army won't do, i.e. snipers and ambushes, shooting from trees, shooting behind rocks.
Morgan commands a team of 500 sharpshooters.
Most guns at the time of the Revolutionary War were muskets, maybe accurate to something like 40 yards. The rifle The long rifle that some Americans used was not a new idea. It had been pioneered in Germany a couple of centuries before. But the idea is this. Inside that smooth barrel, the gunsmith would start working in a spiral groove that would run all the way through the barrel. When that gun is fired, the projectile gets caught up in those grooves. It starts to spin as it comes out of the barrel. If you've ever watched a good quarterback throw a football, you see it has that classic spiral. When you put those spiral grooves in a gun barrel, the ball that comes out of that gun is going to behave more like a football. It's going to travel very straight and true over a long distance because it's spinning.
The sharpshooters target two groups: the Brits' Native American scouts and the Redcoats officers. The idea is to sow chaos and confusion. October 1777. The Battle of Saratoga. Marksman Tim Murphy hunts the British General Simon Fraser. It is a showdown that will help shape the outcome.
Hold your fire!
The demoralized British troops are forced to retreat in disarray. They are outraged by the killing of Fraser.
They see the attacks on officers as uncivilized. But the reality is that the colonists see this not simply as a conventional war. They see this as a struggle for their very existence, for their liberty.
The victory at Saratoga encourages the French to join the war on the colonial side, but the Continental Army can't capitalize. A loss of discipline at Germantown forces them to fall back to a place called Valley Forge. The outlook for the colonists is dire.
But Washington still believes that he can rally for one last battle. And if he can win the next battle, then he will retrieve the situation.
Washington needs help to rebuild his shattered force. He gets it from an unlikely source: Prussian Lieutenant General Baron Frederick von Steuben. Von Steuben was an unconventional character. Washington has good reason to doubt that he is even a general.
He shows up to George Washington. He offers his services. Don't pay me a salary yet. Wait till you see what I can do. Then pay me what I'm worth.
Von Steuben was shocked by what he found at Valley Forge.
Washington's army consists of a population that doesn't like to take orders from people. It's very tough to tell them that you're fighting for liberty, but oh, by the way, you have to do what I say or I will have you whipped.
Von Steuben first needs the troops on the same page.
Depending what part of the country you came from or what colony, you may have had, your doctrine may have been British or French or Prussian. He goes, we can't do that anymore. Comes up with an American way to drill.
Von Steuben writes it all down in his Blue Book, America's first military manual, with a particular focus on the brutal techniques of hand-to-hand combat.
The bayonet is a decisive arm in an era when men fired muskets that were not terribly accurate, so he trains with the bayonet every day. Not only how to charge with the bayonet, but how to receive the shock of a bayonet charge.
The nucleus of a more professional army left Valley Forge. Those that didn't die or quit became more proficient, they became more cohesive, they became more confident.
The American Revolution not only burst the nation, it also burst the American soldier.
October 1881, Yorktown. George Washington, the Continental Army, and their French allies prepare to storm the Redcoat Bastion. Three weeks of bitter fighting. Outnumbered and outfought, the British surrender.
When we think about the complex tactics that they used, they're going to settle into a siege. One of the heights of the battle, a nighttime bayonet charge. This was not in the kit bag of the Continental soldier at the beginning of the war, but it is now. And this is what makes Yorktown the turning point in the war.
America wins its independence from Britain. George Washington, fresh from victory, becomes the first president of the United States. The president remains the commander-in-chief of the U.S. military.
He defined more things about American society probably than any of the other of the founding fathers. They talked about the indispensable man. I think that's as true as any description has ever been of any single American.
The American Revolution and the birth of the American soldier are intimately intertwined with each other.
That fighting for that common cause, that cause bigger than themselves, that's the story of the American soldier.